for step 7, attaching the motor. This is quite different to the way you do this on the CC01. There's a lot more adjustments that can be done with this. The other one, you pretty much screwed the motor into the motor plate and that was it. With this one, you can see that you're going to screw these 2 cap screws in. And again, this is kind of interesting too, because these are hex screws that you'll use an Allen key for attaching it, and that's the first time I've seen that in a kit. And I'm pretty sure that in the new BBX kit from Tamiya there's a lot more of that hex drive screws as opposed to the regular JIS screws. So this is just interesting overall. This is the first time that I've seen it in a kit, so this is very cool. You can see we're going to use these little spacers that are going to go into that gearbox right in there before attaching it, and you can see that we're going to need to adjust these so that the pinion gear sits in the spur gear properly. So we don't want it too low because then it's not going to run smooth. It's too tight. We don't want it too loose because then it's not grabbing the teeth. So we kind of need to figure out where the best place is for screwing those down. So I've got all the little cap screws, I've got our spacers, so I'll set this up and we'll attach the motor to the gearbox. So first off, let's get the motor into the gearbox and attach it. So you can see that we need to grab one of these cap screws, one of these little spacers. So they're like a washer, but they're slightly thicker. Maybe hard to tell on the camera there, but they're a slightly thicker thing. And let's put that one in. And then we're going to grab our motor. And again, just because of the way they're showing it, I am going to use this side. Just basically putting it in the way that they're showing in the manual. And actually, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to grab our Allen key. Get that, there we go, in there, and attach it that way. And I just want to get it on enough that it's grabbing, which it is, and that way I can do the other side. So again, let's grab our cap screw, put on our spacer. Come on. There we go. Grab our Allen key. And same thing. Get that down there. Okay, so it's on enough that I have full play. So you can see now we just need to figure out the position. And of course I figured out, one of the other things I wasn't even thinking of when I was talking about the fact that we've got a lot more adjustments to this than the CC01. The fact that the CC02 allows you to change pinion gears and change your gear ratios and low and high and all that, depending on the pinion gear that you have in here, you're going to have to adjust this up or down, because being that this is a small one, we're going to be adjusting it down obviously a lot more. But if it was a bigger pinion, we'd have to pull this a lot farther away to make sure that there's clearance and to get a good bite into that spur gear. So anyways, we've got it on. I just now need to figure out where do we need to place this so that we have smooth operation. So if you look at the diagram, the teeth are pretty much fitting most of the way in with only a little bit of a gap. And if you see this, where the teeth are almost all the way in with just a little bit of a gap, you pretty much can screw it in just about right there, so that they're pretty much in but not totally squished in, if that makes sense. So in order to do this, I have my pinky finger on the back side of that motor and then holding it with the rest of my hand on the gearbox itself, so that then that leaves my other hand free to start screwing these in. So again, I just want to make sure that that's more or less where we want it to be. And you can see how I've got just a bit of a gap where the teeth are. And I'll screw this in more now. Make sure that that still seems okay. And that's moving free. So I'm happy with that. So I'm going to screw this in all the way now. And I'm just going back and forth because I don't want to over tighten. But it's definitely in. So this one, that one on the left hand is definitely all the way in. And that's all the way in now too. So you can see that it's got the bite, and this is running really, really smooth. So that's great. So we do have to still grease this up, but I just wanted to make sure that this was sitting in here properly before we did that, and then I can spin this with my own finger. It feels right. So we can start greasing this up now. So if we grease this up, we'll just turn this. Get enough on there. And that should do the trick. And we're also greasing that spur gear, doing it the same way too, so yeah, a little bit more. My Allen key and bring that back. But yeah, I'm good with that. So we can start closing this off now. So for the final step, we need to put the cover over top of all of this, and you can see that it's just another screw, another cap screw that's going to go into that top hole and into the top hole of the gearbox itself. So if we sit this over top, grab our Allen key and our little cap screw, that is in place, so we'll stick that in, and now we can screw this on. And there we go. So there is our finished gearbox motor combination. So that's very cool. And of course you can see that this is where the two axles are going to come off it for both the front and the rear, going into this whole transfer case gearbox. So that's cool. Love it. Love the design. So step 7 is complete. So now we're going to move on to step 8 and attach the battery case.